It would be probably at Mother Blues. That was the place where he played, and of course Bugs Henderson, John Nitzinger. I mean, Lightning. Everybody played at Mother Blues. It was the place to be. All the rock bands like Zeppelin or whatever, after they'd finished their gig at Reunion Arena, they would come to Mother Blues, and they would. So I'd see Freddie play, and then they would have the poker games upstairs at late at night, and got to play poker with Freddie King. I've got a picture of me and Freddie somewhere, but I don't know where it is, of one of those poker games. And my wife Judy, I didn't. She was the door girl there, but I didn't really know her there. We didn't really hit it off. We just kind of just didn't really acknowledge each other. But Judy used to, serve the drinks upstairs at the poker games, and she would always wait until Freddie won, and then when Freddie won, would rake the pot in, and then she would serve him his drink, and you did, she was pretty smart, and but Freddie, man, he would, he would come in a room, and you couldn't get your eyes off of him. And he played this game called Lucy Deucey, where it was like seven stud, and if a deuce came face up, then the next card would be wild, and it just finally would get so confusing nobody could remember, except that Freddie would win. So, but yeah, and then there were some other gigs there too. Then he really blew up, and I think there was one night at Whiskey River when Bugs Henderson was playing, and Freddie and Eric Clapton showed up and sat in, and there was just it wasn't like cutting heads, like that deal. It was just there was a lot of respect. But yeah, Freddie was he was always nice and gracious to me. Oh yeah, man. I mean, all the players, Bugs and Nit Singer and gosh, Point Blank, Rusty Burns would, all those guys would come whenever he would play Mother Blues. I mean, it was just guitar players everywhere. It was a house, like a wooden house, a big old house, and man, there's pictures of it somewhere, but it was just there on Lemon Avenue, and it was just a big old, like, three-story house, I think, or two-story, and they would have burgers on Sunday afternoon, feed everybody, and it was just a funky. I mean, I saw Lightning play there one time, and the band that was the opening band for Lightning Hopkins was called Big Bow and the Arrows, and this was like about a 7-8 piece soul band. I mean, like Hammond B3, maybe a horn. I mean, just the place was just packed out and rocking and crazy, just insane. Everybody was just grooving, and they finished. They took everything off. They roll out like an old Fender Twin, and with a cord and a chair and an ashtray and a drink and a microphone. And Loudon came out, had his sunglasses and his suit, white socks. Came out, sat down, plugged in, didn't even have a tuner or a mute, wasn't even muted, just that's, And then he played that lick that I opened all my shows with, that, and place just went nuts. And yeah, it was a good experience. It was dangerous, but it was cool.
It's culture.
Yeah, it was. It was learning, because I was kind of more into folk music at the time, because there was an old club there called the Rubaiyat that was the folk scene, and then later on, gosh, I'd be in this. I can't even remember decades anymore. Started hanging out with Mother Blues and Gertie's, and like I say, for a young guy, it was eye-opening, to be able to play cards with Freddie King and Bugs Henderson, and and see people sit in. You could come in for about $100. They weren't completely outrageous.
Yeah.
Like, 100, $200, something like that. Just like whatever. And then we played with cash, not chips. That was, so you'd have ones and fives and tens and 20s. So I probably a couple $100, $200 buy-in, stuff like that, I think.
That's a lot of money back then.
It was a lot of money back then, but they were pretty crazy wild. You familiar with Bugs Henderson? He was just like a incredible guitar player. I don't think he ever really got the recognition he deserved, especially in Austin, because Austin was pretty much blues, pure blues. But Bugs would play Chet Atkins, or he'd play the Star Spangled Banner and Dixie at the same time. He was just, or he'd play some Molly, So he never was really like the blues purist, but he was a great cat, and he was a great poker player too. I got a picture of him and my dad playing poker upstairs. My dad's favorite game was Low Chicago, where the low spade in the hole gets half the pot. So when my dad passed away, before they closed the casket, Bugs slipped the two of spades in his pocket. So no matter where he went, he'd always get half the pot.
Nice.
So yeah, Bugs was a great cat.
That's one of my favorite games. We play Follow the Queen, Low Chicago.
Yeah.
Whatever pops up after a Queen's Wild.
Yeah, the same thing like Lucy Deucey, yeah.